My name is Susan Kenney. This is Boise State University in beautiful downtown Boise, Idaho. We're here today doing some interviews with Ron Paul supporters in the hopes of raising awareness of his candidacy and his talent for president. One of the questions that we talked about before was that the United States is currently involved in several military conflicts across the globe. There's even talk now of military action in Iran. Do you want to comment on any of those things regarding Ron Paul's candidacy?
I do, actually. I think we really need to take a hard look at what our foreign policy is. I've sort of seen the effects of what our current foreign policy and foreign policy the other three candidates will take forward if they get the nomination. And the effects are frightening. They said Cattau was in Iraq before we invaded. They weren't there after we got there. They showed up because they could easily target us. And what happened is that collateral damage and whatnot, the bomb going off, somebody's family member got killed. That recruits more terrorists. And that recruits terrorists at an alarming rate. Before we went there, people didn't have any problem with us. But now they do. There's a lot more open.
Can you elaborate for just a minute on the difference between the coming conflict possibly in Iran and what we created in Iraq, if in fact we actually created anything in Iraq, and it's one of those things?
We can see the hype building for the war in Iran, and it's very similar to the circumstances that were coming up into Iraq. Going insane with those weapons of mass destructions. In Iraq, there weren't, until we got there, they're called IEDs, and we really plenty of those. Now they're saying there's a nuclear facility. There is a nuclear facility being built in Iran, but there's no evidence that they're making a nuclear weapon. Another thing that Ron Paul says is that there are some 45 bases surrounding Iran, not to mention our submarines and our battle carrier groups that are in the sea right off the coast. So I can see how that would make them kind of poke and prod them into wanting to have something to defend themselves. Right now they don't. There's no evidence that they'll have a weapon anytime soon, but if we keep poking and prodding them, why wouldn't they build a weapon?
There's disagreement from time to time in the media about whether or not they actually want a nuclear weapon or whether they're actually putting one together. Do you think Iran actually has a right to have a nuclear weapon, given that everybody around them does?
If there was a perfect world, nobody would have a nuclear weapon. It is a terrible thing that you can be around. Unfortunately, it is. The United States has plenty of them. After the Cold War, a lot of those weapons were dispersed throughout the planet. I don't understand why it's the United States that have them and nobody else does. Is it because of our that we've shown that we're able to judiciously use this weapon? I mean, we're the only ones that actually use one of these weapons to create a massive effect like that. I don't understand why we can be allowed to have one in somebody else. Well, like I said, nobody's going to have any of these things.
One of the things that Dr. Paul says, often actually, is that there was a time when the United States negotiated with Russia, who had thousands of nuclear weapons, and Iran doesn't even have one yet, and may or may not have an intention of building one. What's the difference between what we were doing back then with Russia and what you think we're doing now?
Well, what we're doing now is the complete opposite. These preemptive strikes that we're going to with little to no real evidence and possibly some false evidence. Going in preemptively striking, but a lot of times it's to occupy that country. We don't have a clear objective of what we're supposed to do. It's kind of, hey, drive around the street and see if you can get shot at by somebody and shoot back at them. So we're not trying diplomacy. We've given up on it completely. Like you said, back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan, speaking with Russia, the Soviet Union, we tried it back then and it was successful. It worked. Last time before that, I can recall, was John F. Kennedy to keeping missile crisis, trying diplomacy, and it worked. It does work. It has history of it.
Why do we think that we're loath to use diplomacy now when we used it so effectively at times in the past?
My honest answer to that would be to fuel the military-industrial complex. It's all about money. If you trace the money, we'll kind of see where we're going to go.
Are you a believer or a disbeliever in the idea that the bigger and the better and the more powerful our military is, the better our position in the world and the more we are protecting our security at home?
Well, I agree with Ron Paul on this. In that, yes, we should have a large, powerful military, but we should have them here in the United States where we can actually defend our nation. Our Department of Defense, as they call it now, used to be called the Department of War. But they changed the name of that to insinuate that our military protects our nation, or defends our nation. I've spent 2 years in Iraq, and I can honestly tell you that I have not made anybody here any safer. I've actually probably, like I said, been recruiting terrorists, put our people in more harm for having been over there.
We were talking before about preemptive strikes. How do you feel about preemptive strikes as being part of the United States foreign policy?
Preemptive strike is a possibility. We have good intelligence, and we have the go-ahead of Congress. If our president puts it out there and says that, okay, Congress, these are the facts. Vote on this. Is it a constitutional war? Should we send our troops over there? Okay, if so, what is our objective? Which personnel do we need to take out? Which facilities do we need to take out? How quickly can we do that? How quickly can we attain our objective and get our goals back home? So, yes, it can be effective if the evidence is real and we build everything we need to do in time.
If Congress actually declares a war, correct?
That is how you're supposed to do it.
Given that the Bill of Rights is suffering these days and we're losing a little more personal and individual liberties all the time, how do you feel about legislation that has been passed in recent months and years, in fact weeks, specifically the NDAA? How do you feel that something like the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, is going to affect civil liberties in this country? And what's your opinion on that?
It sickens me that the Constitution was written and you were given these rights as American citizens. They cannot be taken away from you for any reason. And they are one by one every day. So I can't even keep up with with amendment of our Bill of Rights that we actually have left. They just passed a bill yesterday almost unanimously to not allow people to protest in certain areas. There's number one right off the bat. Number two, they're trying to mess with the government and anything coming out. As far as illegal search and seizure, what the military detention provisions of the NDAA, certain things like that, what the Patriot Act, taking that away, the 10th Amendment, states' rights, states have almost no power anymore. So that's done at the federal level and it's out of the state's hands. So every day it's more and more disappearing and it's happening at a frightening rate as well. And we need to stop that right now.
So I take it that you're not in favor of the idea that just because an individual might look suspicious to someone in the government, the President of the United States can simply sign a piece of paper which allows us to detain, arrest, remove, kidnap, imprison without trial or charge or, in fact, any publicity, and detain that person anywhere on the planet as long as we want for the rest of their life. I take it you're not in favor of this move.
I'm not whatsoever. And if you look at how they define a possible terrorist, there have been many initiatives put out on soldiers returning from deployment, put you on a possible domestic terrorist watch list. Non-post supporters put you on a possible terrorist watch list. Things as much as having a political bumper sticker on your car, buying coffee with cash. It's getting ridiculous. And they pass this out to businesses, and then whoever happens, you can call the FBI and say, hey, I saw this. So, I kind of get where they're going with it, but it's getting a lot of control. And the worst part of it, like you said, is that you can be detained without trial and for as long as they want. That was the NDAA part of that. Enemy Expatriation Act, which if they can't get you with the NDAA, they just strip your citizenship and they have no rights. So, that was that.
How about the one that we heard about recently that gives the president authority to assassinate American citizens on American or foreign soil for similar reasons? Suspicion that they are terrorists or they're associated with terrorist organizations.
Right, and actually, I do need to do a little bit more research on how that has been used, but apparently it has been used in several instances. Dr. Paul said that it was used on a 16-year-old boy who was barbecuing in his backyard. So I don't have the book backs on that. I think he needs to do some more research, but if that is true, that is another very scary thing that's happening.
Well, he was the son of Aralaki, who was associated with terrorist groups. The 16-year-old was not on any list as far as any of us have been able to determine so far. He was just taken out of barbecue as his son.
That's without any kind of trial or looking into it now. It's just a suspected terrorist assassination.
So how is Ron Paul going to address all of these? What is your opinion of how he might be able to change these? Obviously, no one can change them overnight. What is your hope, what is your theory about how he can aid this country in moving away from some of these tendencies?
Well, just opening people's eyes, just always been going out and speaking to people. A lot of people don't know about these things, and it's just sort of hard to get this information. They definitely don't put it on the news. You have to go out there and look at it yourself. I go to GovTrack.org, and that says voting records for all the different government leaders, and then it breaks down every bill, how each person in Congress is going to vote for that bill. If you go and look at that, Ron Paul is always opposed to anything that is unconstitutional. So all of these bills that we're talking about, he opposed them. The Patriot Act was basically the president just had to sign and say that, yeah, that's extended. As the executive branch, the head of the executive branch, he could say, I'm not signing it. Patriot Act is done. His veto power in some of these bills, that's another way that he can get him out there. Like I said, just spreading the word about this, getting the information out there. More people have been contacting their representatives and saying, hey, this is wrong, you need to vote against this. If you don't, we're going to get somebody in there that will vote constitutionally. And that is happening. That's a big movement that's happening right now.
Curt, where would you send people who are curious about what's actually happening and are clearly not getting the information from the mainstream news media? Where would you send them? Where can they go to find out what's actually afoot in our nation?
Okay, the biggest one, if you want the real facts, like I said, GovTrack.org. It will give you the voting records, and you can actually read the entirety of all the bills. So that's a good one that I go to, and that's straight to the source right there. Otherwise, some people call it conspiracy or whatnot, but InfoWars is great for at least getting some ideas. I mean, I urge people to do their own research about that once they get the ideas. But a lot of the things he talks about is very real. You go back and GovTrack and see, okay, he's not lying.